Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 6 of Screw the Commute podcast. And we got a great guest today, a prolific serial entrepreneur, Daniel Hall. I'll tell you about him in a second. Let me tell you about today's sponsor. It's the Distance Learning School, the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. Don't even think about retraining yourself or sending your kids to college until you check out our webinar. I don't want you wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars putting yourself and your kids under crushing debt. And we'll have the webinar in the show notes at screwthecommute.com. All right, let's get to the main event. Daniel Hall is the best-selling author, speaker, publisher. He's a nurse and attorney. Now, you don't hear that every day. I was thinking about that. Like, if I got run over by a bus or something, I'd want him standing there because he could save me, and it would save me running around looking for an attorney. You know, it's just perfect. He's the host of RealFastResults.com podcast. He's also the creator of the highly popular Real Fast brand of training products. He left law practice 10 years ago to build his publishing business and has never looked back. Daniel is a true serial entrepreneur, and his list of URLs is longer than this piece of paper I'm holding, and it's a legal size. So
That's right.
You can check out Daniel's hub at danielhallpresents.com or check out his realfastresults.com podcast on iTunes. Daniel, are you ready to screw the commute? That is.
The answer is have been there, done that.
Good.
I'm currently that's my current thing, man. I walk 4 minutes between my house and my office.
Oh, well, that's
so, yes.
too far, man. Mine is only, I don't know, maybe 37 seconds.
Oh.
So you're gonna have to work.
Well,
I'm older
I
than you,
look
and
up
I
to you,
kind of
Tom.
got it down a little
I
better.
aspire to do that.
So tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're doing.
Well, so as you know, I primarily help the folks that want to get their message out to a wider audience. So I love working with authors and folks that want to create courses because they know they have a solution that will help other people, and they want to obviously make money in that process. So that's primarily the group of people that I work with and I enjoy working with. And it's primarily content creators in all of their forms.
And did you, now I know being a nurse and an attorney, you probably had a job at one point. Can you remember the turning point in your life when you decided, you know what? I'm going to make money for me and my family and not make everybody else rich.
Yes, I do. There's a distinct memory I have. I was practicing law and I was away for a trial, which was pretty frequent. We were trying cases, all over, and I was away on this particular trip for 7 weeks. Didn't come home for 7 weeks. And I missed a major a major sort of landmark in my child's development, and was basically his first couple steps.
Oh, gee.
And I of course my wife is telling me about this, and it was at that point that I'm thinking to myself, I got to figure out some other way to make a living than this. I mean, I wasn't happy being a lawyer anyway. I was making good money, but I'm much more collegial and less confrontational than what it really requires. And it was at that moment when I was having this conversation with my wife that I had to figure out some other way. This was not going to cut it. And that was when I made the decision.
And what would you tell people that are in that situation now? They may feel like they're tied to that paycheck, and what advice would you give them to make that leap if they want to start their own business?
Well, the important thing, I believe, is to start taking the action now while you are still working. So that means if you need to start moonlighting, start taking work, or starting a business on the side, I would definitely recommend doing that before and seeing revenue, okay, before you actually take the plunge and leave that environment. That's essentially what I did. Is it took me probably another 2 years, maybe two and a half, 3 years before I actually left from that point.
So your family wasn't in any jeopardy then? It's not like you just one day quit and then no income and everybody scrambled.
Well, no, I couldn't do that because I'm the primary breadwinner,
right.
And I had to keep a roof and food and taxes paid and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm not an advocate of being irresponsible in these decisions, but strategically planning for your
exit.
Your exit and entrance into this new life.
Yeah. And so give us some tips. Both of us sell information, basically. I guess that's how you would characterize it. So give us some tips on how people could get into that kind of business, and also some of the tips of actually working your own business when you're the boss.
Yeah, so I'll start with that second question first, because what is really required is a mindset shift in most cases, because it's foreign if you are in a sort of an employee mentality to actually be the boss. So that means that you have primary responsibility for everything in your business. So and that takes some sort of growing into, and it's in my opinion, it's not a good idea to just jump in without kind of easing in and understanding where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. Because as I sort of transitioned out of law and into my own business, my income did absolutely plummet, but it wasn't zero. I had some money coming in from some of these other enterprises, and the thing that I think is really important that folks really understand is that you are going to be good in certain things and you're going to suck in other things. And do not wait to get help, to get people into your business. And I'm thinking here primarily of outsourcers, people that are that can help you do the things that you suck at, while you sort of focus on those things that you're really good at, where it's easy to do. And that I think I remember I was kind of bebopping along at about $8,000 a month, and within 3 months of hiring my first assistant, we went from $8,000 a month to consistently over $30,000 a month, and it's just been on an upward trend since then. And a lot of that is because I was trying to do everything myself and not doing a very good job at doing everything. And as I sort of brought more help in, and I'm not talking about big help. I think my first person was being paid $250, $300 a week, to help me. So that's a big thing. As soon as you make the transition, is to find people that you could sort of offload some of the work on that you need to offload while focusing on your giftedness.
Yeah, and I'm totally in agreement with that. I just always want to caution people when they delegate stuff that it's still a great idea for the principal to have an understanding of what's going on, because
Without a doubt, that's true.
some of these, you luckily have Anthony, your son, working with you now, but if somebody comes off the street, even these young people that I love to hire, I mean, they could be doing stuff and I'm clueless of what they're doing, and 99% of the hour they're playing on Facebook. I wouldn't even know it. So yes, you have to, you can't just divorce yourself as the owner of the company from everything. So,
no. Exactly. You definitely have to stay involved. But it's like, I remember when I had my first 7-figure year, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, especially, I got hit with this huge tax bill.
Yeah.
It's this tax bill. I could send my kid for all 4 years of
Right.
Harvard with what I paid to the IRS, and I'm like, this is never going to happen again. Why? Because I had not outsourced the bookkeeping part of it. I was keeping all that in house, and I wasn't properly preparing, so yeah, I got hit. So yeah, these things will, hopefully that won't happen to you.
Well, the thing is I vividly remember getting a call from my accountant. I was doing years, not too long after I first started, I got to $1.2 million a year with one part-time temp person. And my accountant called me up and he says, "Hey, Tom, you got too much retained earnings." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you got too much retained earnings. You're going to have to pay a lot of tax." And I said, "You mean because I've been keeping my nose clean and not buying airplanes and hookers and everything else, I got to pay more taxes?" He said, "Yeah, that's how it works." And so that's when I started hiring a bunch of people. I think it's, anywhere from 7 to 10 full-time people we have here. So I get that, but I would have, unless he'd have called me, I'd be wondering, wow, my God, I just paid all this money in taxes. I personally, Daniel, would rather make jobs than pay for bombs. Yeah.
Amen to that, brother.
All right. So what should people do if they want to get in our type of business? What would you recommend?
Well, so two things. The first thing is look at what solutions you have in your head right now that really solve big problems or potentially big problems, or they don't have
any
to
kind of problems, really.
They could be just about any kind of problem, as long as there's a pretty big market for it. So that's the second thing is are people buying other products that address the same problem? Are there a lot of those? Because, some people say, well, there's that's been done, a bazillion different times. Well, that might be true, but it also says that there's a market. There's people willing to whip out their credit card and actually pay for that kind of solution. So that's the first thing. And then you want to look at those things that you're passionate about, the things that you love, and the things that keep you energized in your business. And it's, if you're kind of thinking about it as a Venn diagram, it's where those topics sort of intersect that you're passionate about on one hand, and on the other hand, have a proven market.
Yeah, because a lot of people are pushing that. Just do your passion and the money will come. No, that's not always true. There's plenty of broke people that are passionate about stuff that nobody else wants.
Exactly, or was willing to pay for.
Right.
So that's a really, really important thing. And then the other thing that's really, really super important is the fact that I would start small. I would start probably with a simple ebook. And it's sort of like when I think that's how you and I met.
Yep.
Is my very first information product was one called "Speak on Cruise Ships: 8 Easy Steps to a Lifetime of Free Luxury Cruises," and that started out to be essentially a 5-page checklist that turned into a 132-page PDF document, which I went on to sell over $250,000 worth. Matter of fact, it's still selling on Amazon today. But I put together the product and it started to sell. So then I started to kind of build out a business around it because it was proven. There was traction. There was interest and people willing to pull out their credit card and pay for this information, which again goes back to this sort of the intersection of these Venn diagrams. And start small with an easy, like a PDF. It's easy to deliver. It's easy to sell. No one's going to be, messaging you in the middle of the night because they lost their password into your membership site or something like that.
And it's low risk.
Everyone knows how to open a PDF document.
It's very low risk too. So you can create the thing in a Word document, turn it into PDF, and have no expense whatsoever. So that's
zero expense and practically. About minus out or subtract out your merchant fees, it's in the 90th percentile in profitability.
I say kind of a smart aleck. You almost have to be a moron not to be able to make money at 97% profit. That's not good. So did you ever get screwed in business? What'd you do about it? What'd you do about it? You're a lawyer. You should be able to sue him.
Yeah, well, that's just it. So here's the thing. The really, really important thing is sort of easing in with relationships, so that you're not like all in. Or all out. You kind of it's like you and I, Tom, trust each other implicitly. Right. We know that because we've done business together for many
period of time. Yeah.
Yeah, and that I'm not going to screw your folks, and that I'm not going to screw your the opposite. So we trust one another, but that trust was built over time, and that's what I'm saying is that to not get screwed. Yes, if you're getting screwed from the very get-go, to end that relationship ASAP.
Well, that goes with your outsourcing tip. You don't give them the keys to the castle right off the bat. If you're using an outsourcer or virtual assistant, you see if they're professional, see if they do their work on time, see if you can trust that what they say is true. Because you don't want to give them everything and just throw your hands up and cross your fingers.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And not only that, you'll find that there is a pattern in integrity. If somebody says they're going to be and do something, and it's a small thing, and they do that, and then the next time they do it, and then it's a little bit bigger thing, and they perform on that. I'm not saying you can't get hoodwinked, but there are definitely telltale signs that this person probably is. We don't want to deal with them long term, because they missed something. They colored something. It wasn't quite right, and you got to have your eyes and ears open for that kind of thing. Sort of your antenna kind of attuned to that until they've proven themselves.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you can't divorce yourself, and I get a lot of professionals, doctors, and so forth that just want somebody to do it for them. Well, they're the biggest. They might as well put a big target on themselves and pay, literally up to 100 times what it should cost for certain things, because they don't know any better.
Exactly.
Okay, so anything funny happened to you or in your business or your life lately?
Well, I went to a nude beach for the first time. How's that?
That's very interesting to hear that.
Yeah. We're here in Austin, Texas, and we there's only one legal sort of nude beach here. It's a place called Hippie Hollow, and we was like, hey, let's stop in there. Like,
is it nude optional?
Yeah, it's clothing optional.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to me, from what I've never been to one, but from what I've heard, the people that go to these places aren't necessarily people you'd want to see naked anyway.
I would definitely second that. But that's not true across the board.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe you could sell a product on where's the best nude beaches for bird watching.
Why not? Why not?
So what's the thing you like best? I think you've kind of mentioned that about working for yourself. And what's the worst part about working for yourself?
So it's it sometimes gets onerous, especially if you don't take breaks, that to just realize, and when you realize that you're the only horse pulling the plow. I mean, it all comes down to you.
Yeah, right.
And that could get tiresome, and you could let that really pressure you in bad ways. And how I sort of deal with that is, first off, I try to get outside, at least once a day. My wife and I like to walk on the trails, and we take our dogs to the dog park, and just get out and kind of clear your mind, so it's not so heavy on you constantly.
Are both of you walking down the trail looking at your cell phones?
No. No.
That's what I said. I went over to Mount Trashmore Park. We have this park in Virginia Beach called Mount Trashmore. It used to be the garbage dump. It's a beautiful park. I went over there the other day. I would say 95% of the people were not looking at the lake, the ducks, anything. They were walking the trails looking at cell phones.
That does not surprise me, and,
No.
and probably won't change.
Well, I was too. I had to make it a point to look up a little bit to count the people. But so, what are you promoting nowadays? What's some of the things that our listeners could take advantage of yours, maybe to get started or help them out?
Well, one of the cool things that I put together, if you have any kind of blog, there's a pathway to actually set up a micro mini membership site with your blog using Amazon's Kindle. And I have a complete and free training on exactly how to do that. It's at danielhallpresents.com/get code.
Yeah, we'll have that in the show notes. We'll have that in the show notes for you.
Yeah, and by the way, you don't even need to opt in. The video is on that page. The page I just gave you. You just go to that page, and you could. It's about a 20-minute video, and it will actually teach you how to, in one step, by the way, or only has to be done once, so that every time you post to your blog, it actually gets published on the Amazon Kindle platform, and people pay you for access through Amazon.
Nice.
So it's pretty cool.
That's cool. So check that out in the show notes, folks, because all of Daniel's stuff is cutting edge and inexpensive. I mean, compared to the value, I mean, it's just unbelievably inexpensive. Any of his Real Fast brand, and he brings in a lot of super experts to collaborate with. It's just I've never seen anything that wasn't amazing come out of Daniel.
Thank you.
So let's take.
Really appreciate that.
We got to take a brief sponsor break, and we will be right back. And Daniel's going to tell you what a typical day is like for him and how he stays motivated.
Today, almost 2 billion of you will go online, retrieving over 100 billion searches for information, goods, and services. And 6 million of you will view a page on the internet before this commercial is over. The world has changed, and so has the way we do business. At the Internet Marketing Training Center, you can study online at your pace to fit your schedule. And you can graduate with the skills and knowledge to compete in the global marketplace or start your own home-based business. Call us today or go online at imtcva.org because it's about time. Yours.
All right, we're back. So Daniel, tell them what a typical day is like for a massive screw the commuter like you.
Well, it usually we get up, get our boy to school. I have two 3-bedroom condos, one of which I live in, one of which I office out of. I walk. I get up, shower.
That's why it takes you 4 minutes to get there.
That's why it takes me 4 minutes. Yeah, it's all in the same complex, but I walk 4 minutes from one condo to another. And turn on the computer. Usually I walk the dogs before that all happens. And we turn on the computer, check my email, write the next day's email. I'm primarily a email marketer, so I try to keep one day ahead in sending out an email. So I usually then write that email. I spend most days touching base with at least one and probably up to 3-4 different joint venture partners for whatever promotion I happen to be working now or at the time. And then usually around lunch, my gorgeous wife usually brings in lunch, usually a salad, and we eat together. And then in the afternoon, I work on whatever big projects that I'm happen to be working on, because I do a lot of, as you know, a lot of joint ventures and a lot of collaborative products. So I'm in the afternoon usually working on one of those, and then on the evenings, particularly on Wednesday and Thursday evenings, I am usually doing a live webinar, a live promotional webinar. And that pretty much fills out the day. Can be some long days sometimes.
But if something came up, you could just say, you know what, I'm going to go do it today, right?
And I do.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the beauty of it. Even with all that heavy schedule that you're imposing on yourself, basically, because you're a go-getter, it's flexible. There's all kinds of things. I remember when my mother, I had to move my mother out of our family home after 50 years because it was kind of getting too dangerous for her to stay there. I took off 3 months and had more money when I came back than when I left. And, this is a great business for when life gets in the way, isn't it, Daniel?
Oh, without a doubt, that's true. And I'll tell you, it's like like this summer, for example, and this is the other beautiful thing about our business, the business that you and I are in, especially, is we could pick up and go and be somewhere, anywhere that has internet access. So typically, I live in Austin, Texas, and it gets pretty steamy here in the summer. So we head to someplace that's cooler, where we try to, for at least 1 month out of the summer. So this summer, we're actually going to spend the month of July in Marin County. And in summers past, Marin County, right outside of San Francisco, and in summers past, we've spent them in Vail, we've spent them in Lake Tahoe, we've gone to spent the summer in Europe. So that's the beautiful thing about this, is that we can pick up and go, and our business goes with us.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I was answering questions off a webinar sitting against a tree deer hunting on my cell phone. And it's just beautiful. I don't think I had internet access. Technically, it was just cell phone access, and I was still able to stay in business while I was doing something else out in the woods. So any parting thoughts for our screwballs thinking about, hey, I want to do business, I want to increase my business? What would you tell them?
Well, going back to make sure whatever it is that you're going into business that you are personally passionate about, because there are ups and there are downs, and if you are not really passionate about what it is you're doing, you will lose faith, and you're likely to lose faith before you see the significant success that I know that you could achieve if you were actually had a passion for the underlying thing that you are doing.
That's beautiful advice, that's for sure. So tell everybody what's the best way to get in touch with your organization. And like I said, we'll have everything in the show notes for everybody listening. But what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, I would, if you have not heard the interview that Tom and I did together in our realfastresults.com podcast, Tom did a great job in a podcast called 5 Quick and Easy Ways to Automate Your Business so you work less and make more. That's available at realfastresults.com/38 and free. There's no opt-in. Just go listen. It's a excellent show. And
and then
also,
is that 38 my age? Awesome, man! I just lost 30.
Yeah, well, why not? Sure, it is your age, Tom. Let's just call it that.
Okay.
And then, as I said, DanielHallPresents.com/get code if you are interested in hooking up your blog and making it a micro membership site through Amazon Kindle.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Daniel, thanks so much for visiting with us today. You're just it's just been beautiful to watch your rise to stardom. And so everybody, make sure you check the show notes out, check all the links to Daniel's stuff. And you can go to screwthecommute.com, the website for this podcast, that we show you how to subscribe to podcasts, how to watch webinars, all kinds of good information over there for you. And you'll see episode number 6 is Daniel Hall. So if you want to re-listen to this and then visit all his stuff, we recommend that you do. So don't forget to check out imtcva.org if you'd like to take advantage of higher education without crushing debt for either you or your children, even your nephews, nieces. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to, may I just say one last thing?
Sure.
Because it's a pretty important thing. That I do owe a great deal of my success in this business to you, Tom. I wanted listeners of this show to know this, that I was a Tom Antion mentee, and I was much better for it. So it is good. I could just say good on you for following Tom and for following this podcast, because in me doing that, I know that I've become significantly wealthier and happier as a result. So I just wanted to leave folks with that.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'll tell them on another episode about how you kicked my butt into starting webinars. How about that?
That sounds good.
All right, everybody. Great you stopping by and watch for our next wonderful episode. We either do a training episode on Mondays, and currently the schedule is Wednesdays and Fridays. We do interviews with great people like Daniel. All right. Bye, everybody.